Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive and Five podcast. I hope you're having a fantastic day so far, whenever you are listening to this. Today, I wanted to share a little bit of a personal story, I guess, a an insight into my life and kind of my history. And this, I'm actually reminded of this because my I've got Google Photo on my phone, and it popped up with like a memory, and it was a bunch of my old progress pictures from a diet that I did maybe 7 or 8 years ago now. When I was working with a coach, I was still working in the corporate world, and I was working with a coach, and it was all my progress pictures. And honestly, I looked so miserable in all these pictures. And I was looking at them going like, oh God, I remember this. And it was from those things where I saw the pictures and all these like memories came like flooding back to me. I don't know if anybody else has this. And it kind of took me back to this time, and it made me feel a certain way. And I thought, you know what, I will share this on the podcast. I will share it with my listeners. So I want to talk a little bit about it. So as I say, I was back in my corporate days. I was working at that time. I think I was working in our corporate bank in like a product team. I was very, very stressed out. I remember being stressed. I think I was like moving. I did two jobs and I worked with this coach, but I think I was in the kind of transition period of starting a new role. And at the time, I wanted to lose weight, as I always did, and I was not seeing the results that I wanted. And I was feeling pretty miserable about it. You know, I was getting on the scales every morning. The scales weren't shifting. I was feeling like, oh, for God's sake, like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I felt really hopeless. And I didn't have a great, with this coach, it was very much a kind of transactional thing. There was not a lot of like getting to know me. Very different to how I coach now. It was very much around the sort of like, you send your numbers in and then you get some feedback. And I was feeling really rubbish. I was doing everything that I could. This coach set me up with a program, which I think would have been fine for somebody who had no responsibilities in life and was, I don't know, like their whole life was health and fitness, but it was impossible for me. I was somehow doing it, but it was impossible. I was being asked to do 12,000 steps a day, which I do now because I have a spaniel and I'm self employed, and I'm not commuting and spending all day behind a desk. But back then, like, that was not an achievable number for me. Um, I was eating ridiculously low calories as well. I think this made it harder. I probably could have done the 12,000 steps a day if I wasn't being asked to eat. I think it was 1,300 calories a day during the week. I had slightly more to play with at the weekend. But for someone of my weight, that was ridiculous with the amount of steps I was doing. And I was going to the gym 4 times a week. Three of those times were before work, which was not fun because I started work at that time, I think at like 7:45. So it was just madness what I was being asked to do. It definitely wasn't sustainable. I was battered. And I sent over my check-in, like my pictures, my measurements, my scale weight. I filled out the form. And in the form, I basically said, like, look, I don't know what more I can be doing. I'm working so hard, nothing's happening. Like, what's wrong? Like, help me. I couldn't have said more clearly, like, please help me, like, give me some hope, give me an answer. And the response I got, and I'm not joking, was, if you want to see the scales move, you're going to have to work harder. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I opened that at my desk at work and I had to walk away and cry because, oh my God, I was so heartbroken. I felt so hopeless in that moment. And the fact was, I wish like someone had come down to me and gone, Amy, like, you do not need to work harder. I don't know what was wrong with this coach. Well, I do. Like, this was someone who got their PT qualification and then like had never worked with real people and no idea like what real life looked like. I didn't need to work harder. I needed to work smarter. At the time, I thought, because this coach told me that if I just pushed more, if I just worked harder at the gym, ate fewer calories, walked more steps, I'd get the results I wanted. I thought that if I just, if I if I only had half of my prep skinny sandwich that I was having for lunch, or if I skipped my evening meal altogether, then the scales would go down. And I'll be honest and say I tried some of those things. It didn't work because it led to burnout, it led to frustration, and it led to a whole lot of negative feelings about myself, about my body, about myself in general. Like, it made me feel so rubbish. I felt exhausted. I did get to a place by pushing harder, by the way, with this coach, working harder, where I lost a bit more weight. I got back in my jeans and I felt so miserable because I didn't need to do that. I didn't need to exhaust myself or go to extremes. What I needed was balance. Over time, I realized that weight loss, and in reality, any health goal, anything you're trying to achieve, shouldn't be achieved by running yourself into the ground. No matter what this coach and putting that in inverted commas said, you don't need to work harder. You don't need to overwork your body. If you want to feel good about yourself, you want to lose weight realistically and sustainably, you need to do it in a way that works around your life, not that works in some idealized version of it. It's about finding strategies that fit into your life and that you can sustain long term. Working smarter is way more effective than working harder. What I needed in reality was a coach that got me, that understood what I was going through, a coach that cared, which this guy, let me tell you, did not. He was quite happy to take my money and then just abuse me regularly. A coach that actually had an approach that worked for my life. And I needed to work smarter. I needed to have a look at actually making what I was doing fit my life rather than just working harder. Working harder is not the answer. You don't need to work harder. You need to work smarter and you need to use the time you have rather than trying to force a square peg into a round hole. If that's something you want to think about doing, the routine reset has launched now. It has launched. No, it's launching today. I'm losing track of the time. It is launching today. Keep your eye on my social media. It is launching at 5 o'clock today. So have a look on my Instagram at amytyler.tfp. If you want to find out more information, drop me a message. But yeah, that's basically it. We do not need to work harder. We need to work smarter. I hope that made sense. Obviously, if you have any questions about any of what I've just said, do drop me a message. Keep your eyes peeled for the routine reset, and I'll catch you tomorrow.